All right, I will say good morning. Let us begin. So we are picking up, or we are continuing in Os Nun Zayin. We left off yesterday in footnote Kuf Mem Vav, where we were focusing on the concept or the power of busha. We saw the Gemara Maseches Brachos that said that when a person suffers kolam mizbayish, when a person or dahamiz bayish ba mochelin lo, when a person is embarrassed about the averos he has committed, that busha, that embarrassment, ultimately creates a sense of mechila, so creates forgiveness. So we're trying to figure out exactly what the nature of that dynamic is. Why is it that busha has the power to affect this level of tshuva? So we're picking up again in footnote Kuf Mem Vav, and we're picking up now in the second paragraph of that footnote, the right-hand side, U'b'nesivas olam. And the nesivas olam, the Maharal, nesivat tshuva, davar zeh tzarech tam, lama habusha mechaper u'mochel lo avonosov. Why is it that busha, why is it that embarrassment has the ability to go ahead and atone for one's sins? So again, I commit an avera, I'm embarrassed about the fact that I committed that avera, and then some way, somehow, because of that busha affects tshuva, that busha affects kapara. So why is that? He says, aval dover ze muflog be'inyan abusha. So the Maharal explains this is a fundamental understanding or a fundamental concept within the reality of what it means to be embarrassed, of busha. Ki perush davar zeh, kasher adam misbayish min achet. When a person is embarrassed, when I'm embarrassed because of an avera I committed, mora shumsalik atzmo umarchik atzmo min achet legamre. That shows, the embarrassment shows that I'm removing myself and distancing from myself from that sin in totality. Shekal busha shu misbayish midavar marchik atzmo meno. Because whenever I'm embarrassed about something, by definition, I remove myself, I distance myself from that thing. So say it's a simple yet incredibly profound idea. When I'm embarrassed about something, essentially what I'm saying is, I wish I had never done this. I don't want to be associated. I'm embarrassed with this. I don't want to be associated with this. So I distance myself from it. This is different than someone who has azas panim, right? Someone who has a bit of arrogance. That ultimately, again, he strengthens himself. He's proud of the sin. The kasher misatzim mechet ein hasar lachet hazeh kasher achet misatzim bo. Aval hamevayish min achet more she'ein hachet misatzim bo. Tzidkas said, when you're proud of something, that thing becomes a part of who you are. You want to self-identify with that thing. When you're embarrassed about something, I don't want to self-identify with that particular action. In fact, all I want is to place a distance between myself and that action. When I'm embarrassed, I don't want the connection to it. When I'm embarrassed, I don't want to be identified with it. When I'm embarrassed, I want to place a distance between myself and that action. He said, it's not part of me. Marchik atzmo min achet, kimo shahayis shol misbayish lo ratza lahaskir es achet mibnei abusha v'lachein mochelin lo achet me'achar shu meruchak min achet. So therefore, again, the Maharal explains on a very simple level, where there is embarrassment, when I'm embarrassed about something, by definition, he says two words. Number one, in misatzim bo. It doesn't become part of the etzem, of the essence of who I am. That's number one. And by definition, I distance myself from that thing, which means I don't want to be associated with this action. I don't want to be associated with this behavior. I don't want to be associated with this chait. This does not represent who and what I am. Well, says the Maharal, that's tshuva. That's tshuva. Well, say at the end of the day, what is the fundamental cornerstone of tshuva? It's the repudiation of the sin. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be part of this. I don't want this to be associated with me. It's a fundamental repudiation and then distancing oneself from that particular action. That's tshuva. Therefore, says the Maharal, that's why the Gemara says, Mochel lo. If you're embarrassed about the chait, it means you don't want to be associated with it. It means that you feel that this does not reflect who I really am, which by definition means I don't want to keep doing this. I want to change this cycle of behavior. That's tshuva. V'od ish l'chol hadas madregas hamizbayish sheyesh lo midas hapshitos mima she'amru boshes panim legan eden ki abusha hu pshitos el ha'adam hafech ha'az panim. So this is actually very interesting. There's another piece, says the Maharal, which is embarrassment. Embarrassment is the opposite of arrogance. See, he claims that busha and azus panim, right? Azus panim. So many of us, so we may be familiar with this word. We might have been called it when we were little. Also, this is a good parental term of rebuke, being an azus panim. Hey, so as I said, the idea over here is busha and azus panim are opposites. Right, so if azus panim means a certain arrogance, a brazenness, busha is the opposite of that. It's interesting. We often think that the opposite of arrogance is humility, right? Humility. But the truth is, busha is a manifestation of humility. In other words, we all understand what arrogance is. We all understand how arrogance manifests itself. So how does humility manifest itself, right? Behavior. How does humility manifest? So it's interesting. The Maharal says humility manifests itself in embarrassment. In embarrassment, when I am embarrassed and I feel embarrassed about the averos that I've committed, that in and of itself is a manifestation of one's inner humility. Because again, I'm humbled. I can't believe I did this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be associated with this. This is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. Says the Maharal, that's humility. That's the opposite of azos panim. Ki abusha pshitos ala adam hafech ha'az panim. He defines it as that busha is this pshitos. It's the simplicity of a person. See, I will say, arrogance is incredibly complex, right? Why is arrogance complex? Because arrogance requires a person to build themselves up on multiple levels, ultimately constructing false realities in order to inflate one's ego. Humility is easy. I mean, humility is not easy. It's not easy to achieve. It's not for anyone. It's a struggle. It's not easy to achieve. But once you achieve it, it's a pshitos. Humility is a simplicity. It's a simplicity. Humility doesn't mean that I'm down on myself. Humility means I recognize what I am, but I also recognize what I'm not. It's a pshitos. So therefore, again, azus panim, the opposite of that, he's going to say is this pshitos, is this humility, is this simplicity, which is manifest in busha. Therefore, again, when does kapara occur? Kapara occurs when I possess this midah of pshitos, when I possess this simplicity, when I possess this busha. But we'll say it's such a profound. Again, there's no chidushim over here, but it is such an incredibly profound idea about the power of busha, and the power of being embarrassed, and the power of allowing ourselves to feel that embarrassment. No one ever likes to feel embarrassed. No, of course not. And often we mask those feelings in a variety of ways, or run from those feelings in a variety of ways. What the Maharal is saying is, feeling embarrassed about my averos is an incredibly profound and cathartic experience. And in fact, this is going to sound strange, there's a certain happiness that accompanies that embarrassment. Because if I feel the embarrassment, that means that the chait is not really part of me. Isn't that incredible? See, the problem is when I sin and I don't feel embarrassed, that's where the challenge begins. Because if I don't feel embarrassed, that means that I'm totally okay with self-identifying with this particular behavior. But where there is a busha, where there's an element of embarrassment, that's an incredible bracha. That's almost like the reflex that says, this is not me. This is not me. This is not who I am. This is not what I want to be. This is not how I'm going to build myself into the person I truly desire to become. And that's why the Gemara says those feelings of busha, by definition, are the process of tshuva. Because those feelings of busha, by definition, are the actual repudiation of the Avera. Now he quotes one more piece over here, which we'll just do, which I think is also incredibly profound. He says, Mesilas Yesharim, Hatshuva tinasein lechotim bechased gamar. So here the Ramchal writes as follows. He says that tshuva in and of itself is an incredible chesed. We learned this together in the two cycles we did Mesilas Yesharim. I have a Yetzirah to do Mesilas Yesharim a third time, because I think it's, in this year, I think it's an incredible opportunity. But, alright, Halavad Hashem, my Yetzirah, it's not my Yetzirah. So anyway, the Ramchal writes as follows. He says that tshuva is a chesed. They will say, what does this mean? So the Ramchal explains very beautifully that the way the world should work is you commit an Avera, you get an Onesh. That's the way it should work. There's a chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. Actually, it's a twofold chesed. Chesed number one is that God does not punish us instantaneously. That's chesed number one, even though that's the way the world should work. You commit an Avera, you get an Onesh. Chesed number one is that there's delayed punishment. Chesed number two is there's a concept called tshuva. And with tshuva, you could obviate the punishment. And with tshuva, you could turn your life around. With tshuva, you could do anything. He goes on, Shetachshav akiras haratzon ka'akiras hamaisa. Dahainu, listen to this phrase. Literally, it means when you uproot your will, it's as if you are able to uproot the action. Now, what does this mean? Dahainu, shebihiyos hashav makir eschat'o, umodebo, umisponin al ra'aso, v'shavu mischarit alav charata gimura, D'meikara kicharatas haneder mamish. So also here the Ramchal explains, this is kind of just taking the concept of tshuva even a little bit further. So we'll say, which is this idea that when a person experiences charata, so we'll say, we know this, right? Let me take you back just a little bit more. The Gemara says that when a person, certain types of tshuva have the ability to go ahead and negate the punishment associated with a particular thing, right? For example, you could take tshuva and you could transform your averos into shkagos, your intentional actions into unintentional actions. And then there's even a higher form of tshuva, where a person could take his averos and turn them into zechuyos, right? And turn them into mitzvos. What Ramchal is focusing on over here is the ability of tshuva to go ahead and uproot the chait altogether. And I will say, if I think about this for just a moment, it doesn't make any sense. In other words, I understand the concept of tshuva in its ability to negate punishment. Right? So I commit an avera. That avera, every avera, but say every sin, every avera, big or small, comes with an onesh, comes with a punishment. So you want to tell me again, tshuva comes along, and I can do the process, and I can negate the punishment. I could hear that. There's, what's the word? Not leniency, but, whatever, forgiveness, right? Is that the term I'm looking for? Clemency, right? Thank you. It's clemency, right? So I did the crime, I should get the punishment, I do tshuva, there's clemency. But the notion that tshuva is powerful enough to actually uproot the act, to make it like the act never even happened. Forget about turning it into a mitzvah. That's even like another level. But the notion that tshuva is powerful enough to retroactively uproot an act like it never occurred. How is that dynamic possible? So we'll have to stop over here. We'll spend one more day on tshuva, on this piece of the matter. We'll pick up with this piece of Mesilas Yesharim tomorrow, and I will say then we'll link it back, Yemeret Hashem, and tomorrow's shir back to Reb Tzaddik. Shkoyach.